A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Alright, hello, welcome, eyes and ears of the internet once again. Welcome back, I might say, to Nerd Lives Matter, the podcast for outcasts. We're back. We've taken a couple weeks off. Full disclosure, our ennui is getting to us, but we're back and we're doing it because we're old men that need validation for the geeky things that we love. I am
Exactly.
your host, Abe Vigoda. With me, as always, is your other host, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And we're here tonight to, as we always do, talk geeky to you. How you doing, man?
Doing all right. These old bones are creaking, man. But we had a nice, long ass vacation. We took the holidays off, and then 2 weeks after that, just to make sure we were well rested. So I'd say
Yeah,
we're good and ready
that's
to
good.
get back
Uh,
to it.
I like the positive spin. Yeah, we weren't. It wasn't ennui. It was making sure that we were well rested so that we could provide quality entertainment to all our loyal fans.
Exactly. Except I'm
All
still
our
tired as fuck. But
Yeah, me too. All right, cool. Well, here we are, anyways. Of course, lots of stuff has happened since the last time we were on. Of course, the last time we were on, it was mostly Star Wars Episode 7. It was the spoiler review, which was fantastic. And now, yeah, now we're getting back into it. All things geeky. We have the entire ocean of nerddom to get into and to talk about. So, the first thing we want to do, of course, is talk about Star Wars, because
because that's what we do.
yeah, because why talk about anything else, right?
So
Uh,
are we still torpedoed as far as our episode 7 round review? Were we still torpedoed?
the like, what do you mean torpedo? Like in terms of
Just taken down off of
yeah.
YouTube?
No, no, actually, and again, because of the ennui and the sort of I don't care, I never posted on the group that it was up, but
Uh,
about 2 days after it was put back up, and it was put back up unceremoniously. Actually, I never got an email saying, hey, sorry, never
oh,
got emails and nothing. It's just I just
yeah.
randomly checked it and it was back up there. So it is available for viewing on the YouTube channel now if that's how you see us primarily.
Totally.
All probably two of you. But I do like the idea though. When it was taken down off the YouTube, I went ahead and put it as a link in a Dropbox, and I put the link on the Facebook group. That was really cool. It wasn't as difficult at all as I thought it was going to be to do that. From what I understand, it was really easy for people to download as well. So
Oh, good.
I might do that, as a secondary measure for all the future episodes. But it also depends because it didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take, but it still took a little while for it to download and whatnot. So.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Why
But
not?
uh, but yeah, no, that's up for viewing. If you primarily watched it on YouTube, you were still wondering about that. I apologize for not notifying you, but yeah, it's up there. It's up there. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, we're gonna be talking Star Wars. So as usual, the beginning of the show here with the Rebel Roundup. Lots of really cool news actually just today. A really
Yes.
big piece of awesomeness was unleashed. StarWars.com released a trailer for the second half of the second season of Star Wars Rebels. If you're not watching Rebels, you really should be because it's really really good.
It
It's
is.
honest to goodness. Um, Good Star Wars. It's even better than Clone Wars in my opinion because, and this is controversial maybe, but because George Lucas doesn't have a hand in it. It's Dave Filoni, polarizing figure in the Star Wars fan community. I guess I think he's great. I think everything he does is great. So he's a head honcho of Star Wars Rebels, and it's back. You watched the trailer, obviously. I know I
I
sent you
did.
the link.
Yes.
Bro,
Oh
that was
man.
badass, man.
And I'll have to say, I really, when I first saw Rebels come out, I kind of gave it the meh, okay, whatever. And you kind of cajoled me into actually checking it out. And man, I am ever so glad I did. I ate up the first season quick, like really, really good. And
Yeah,
getting into season 2, I was really disappointed when the mid break came around because it kind of slowed down a little to where, yeah, I was like, all right, they need to pick it up a little bit to kind of grab the pacing back up. The pacing was starting to slow down a tad. And man, if the trailer is any indication, the pacing is picking up.
yeah,
One of my favorite characters is Ahsoka, even from the old Clone Wars, and she's got some cool stuff going on in that trailer. I am
very much so.
stoked.
Yeah, yeah. The last episode I actually saw because I didn't watch this year. I kind of fell off a couple of my shows. I watched Gotham up until the mid-season break, but like Doctor Who, I watched I think 5 or 6 episodes. Haven't seen the rest of it. Really need to. Same thing with Rebels. I think I saw up to the B-wing episode.
Yeah.
Where they
Yeah.
invent the B-wing. After that, I didn't see like the other 2 or 3 or 4, however many that led up to the mid-season break. So I'm not even caught up that much. But I went ahead and watched
Okay.
the trailer, and man, it looks really dark. It looks really intense. Not really a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but bro, Ahsoka and Vader like going at it, like
Yes.
that was amazing. I was sitting here, I was watching it, and I watched it once, and then Christina came in like right as it was finishing, and I was like, I'm taking notes here for the podcast, like let me watch it again. And she sat down next to me, and I watched it again, and I was like, oh my god, you have no idea like what it is. She's like, I don't have any idea. I don't think I really care. I was like, but you don't understand, like, and I gave her the whole the rundown, like, oh,
Master.
but
Yeah.
it was the Clone Wars, and nobody knew that he had an apprentice, and blah blah blah. And so yeah, it looks really cool. There's that. There's Ezra toying to the dark side.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
dude, Old Master. Let me see my notes here. Old Master. Do you think
Yes.
that's Snoke? Do you think that could be Snoke?
That was, you know what? It was, it's interesting you say that because the first thing that popped in my head when I saw that, because it's really hard to, it's really hard to kind of to get out what that is. Very dark, very hooded and shadowed. My first thought was, could that be Plagueis? And then, that kind of, bridged because there's that whole big theory that Snoke is Plagueis. So, that did cross my mind when I saw that it's Snoke, Plagueis, somebody kind of from The Force Awakens, some sort of tie into future events,
Yeah.
which I think would be really, really cool. And I love the fact that, in the first part of the trailer, it shows her extolling Anakin and how badass he was. And I'd always wondered, does she know? I mean, I'd say it's pretty common knowledge who slaughtered everybody by that point, so
I don't know, because nobody that got slaughtered lived to tell the tale.
I guess that's true.
You know what I mean?
Dead
I
men-
don't know.
dead men
I always
tell
figured that was
tales.
sort of
Dead Padawans tell
shrouded.
tells.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but I think she knows by the end of the trailer.
I would
I
think so. I would think that would be the bomb to drop right then
Yeah.
and there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be that's the Empire Strikes Back moment, I am your master, So I'm definitely looking forward to the Ahsoka Vader duel, except
Yeah.
for the fact that I have this feeling, this sad, scary little feeling right here in my feels that he's gonna get her.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought was that's what got me about that whole situation. That's what really like made the pit of my stomach fall, was because
Yeah.
Vader's gonna kill Ahsoka. Like, I mean, to the people, the casuals or people that just only watch the movies or only understand the movies, they don't realize what a relationship and how strong that Padawan master relationship was between them. I mean, just
Yeah.
her showing up at the end of season 1 was kind of like, oh yes, it's gonna happen, but I honestly think that I think that it's pretty obvious that that's what it's going to lead up to. Is Vader's going to kill Ahsoka, and that's some Shakespearean shit right there. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
it
Like
is.
that's intense. So not only am I looking forward to it because I think it's going to be awesome and fun, but I'm ready for that punch to the feels, like you said. Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
When a TV show can make you invest that much emotionally, then it's good shit. It's good
Absolutely.
shit. And
Absolutely.
I kind of have the same feel. It's not as intense, but Ezra, toying with the dark side. I mean, he's obviously in the trailer. He's talking to Old Master, whoever that is, but he's also communing with Yoda, which they. Okay, so a little history lesson. I'm sure you know, but Yoda was sculpted by a guy named Stuart Reborn. Based the eyes on Einstein, but the rest of the face on him. I really think that design for Yoda in Rebels, they made him look a little bit too much like Stuart Freeborn. It's a little jarring seeing him. He doesn't look at all like the Clone Wars
No.
Yoda, but he also looks nothing like either the prequel or original trilogy Yoda.
Yeah, it looks very
but
different.
yeah, but whatever, it's cool. But yeah, the fact that Ezra is he's got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, that's really kind of stoking the flame for me wanting to see that again. Then he's got a green trisaber like
Yes,
Kylo Ren.
yes,
So.
interesting. Yeah, a little history of the trisaber there. And on a little more of a minor point, I think Kanan's actually getting a little badassery going too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was happy to see that because he's been very mute as far as, you know, he grew up in the era of the Jedi where, you know, their powers were very flamboyant and flaunting, and we haven't seen really much of that. It's been very muted, on purpose, of course, because they're, you know, they're downplaying the whole Jedi thing. But, you know, from the trailer, we see a little bit of that kick that the Jedi can have. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that too. Because that's one thing about the prequels I did like was the fact that the Jedi had some kick to them. They had some
yeah,
flair. You know, all respect to Luke Skywalker and his very blunt lightsaber style, but I loved the more martial samurai kind of lightsaber style
yeah.
that developed in the prequel eras. And I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that happening too.
Yeah, and I mean also for Kanan, along those lines, aside from the Jedi stuff, is also the fact that they seem to be getting into the meat of the idea of the rebellion and when it's going to
Yeah,
start. Obviously,
yeah,
with bringing Leia in, which is
yeah.
awesome. One
Great.
episode this season, Leia's going to be in there. Um, there was a clip that they released also from the episode, like a little minute and a half clip or something like that. Leia being awesome, being as much Leia as you could hope for this cartoon series. Not voiced by Carrie Fisher,
No.
unfortunately. Voiced by Julie Dolan. Not sure who else or what else she's done, what other voices she's been in. But from what I heard in the trailer and in that little clip, she does a passable Leia, or she does a passable, young Carrie Fisher, which I'm happy with. So
Probably
yeah,
better. It's probably
more than
better that way, you know.
yeah, because I mean, granted, Leia, yeah, she's now in her late or Carrie Fisher's now in her late 50s. She's got a huskier voice, she's got a mature voice. This is Leia, what's supposed to be at 15 or
Right,
16, so
right. It's not
yeah,
Family Guy, so you know, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. I want to see them actually get into the idea of the rebellion, how it begins. I'm really hoping that we don't just get a brushed over, and not that the show would do this. I don't think that they're really big on just sort of brushing over events because it's a kids show or because it's a show aimed at kids. So I don't think they would do that, but I hope that they really do get into the brass tacks, nuts and bolts of how the rebellion was formed, what positions people are in, what they have to do to either, I mean, to get funding or whatever. But specifically, I want to see the big, not just broad strokes. I want to see the details of how this rebellion began and the struggles of the people that they went through. People that started it and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because that's kind of the point of the show. You know, it's that era. It's the beginning of the rebellion. So they need to develop the rebellion, and this is the place for it. This is the platform for it. So I think they're doing a good job of not just focusing on the kids. You know, they're putting a little bit in for everybody. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah. So I'm happy for that.
yes,
But yeah, so that looks good. I think it comes back on January 19th or 20th. I don't remember
really,
if it airs on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but either way, it's going to be either on the 19th or 20th is when that kicks in. So
next week.
everybody, yeah, next week. So everybody go check that out because even if you're not following Rebels, you watch this trailer, you're going to get a good idea of what Rebels is, and you're going to want to jump in because this is
It's
pretty bad.
nice.
Okay, cool. Moving on in the Rebel Roundup. Sort of at this point, it's sort of been, no, I don't want to say it's been beaten in the ground, but it's sort of like everywhere. It's pervasive. Is the whole George Lucas kind of controversy slash bitterness, and I mean, I even hesitate to use the term bitterness or feel that it's an idea of bitterness because I feel that he really, really deserves a certain amount of respect and he deserves a certain say, but he did also sell the franchise because he himself wanted to move on. So for him to sort of throw shade or give the cold shoulder to what they did with episode 7 is kind of silly. I don't feel the whole white slavers comment was anything. I
Just
watched
put his foot in his mouth. You
He's pretty,
know.
but yeah, I mean, I watched that clip from Charlie Rose before it really broke. It was like a couple hours after his post on YouTube. I watched it, and I was just like, and he himself sort of looks. He's like, oh, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nothing neither here nor there. That's just silly. But I do
Well,
think just the shit that he's talking is just kind of like, dude, come on, you had your chance. You had your
yeah.
chance.
Yeah, you can tell there's some sour grapes, you know, and not just the white slaver thing because Disney's always had this kind of stigma over them. There's always been negativity when it comes to Disney. So, you know, people joke about it all the time. You joke about the dicks in Cinderella, all the stuff you see
Yeah.
in the cartoons, or the neo-Nazism of Walt Disney himself. So I mean, people joke about it all the time. So for Lucas to kind of pull a little faux pas there and stop himself and go, maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I could cut him slack on that. The sour grapes, though, however, I'd say get over it, dude. What do you expect? You sold. You sold out. Let it go. You got to
For
make
billions.
peace with it. Yeah, really.
For billions, yeah. Like,
Your
you have
grandchildren's grandchildren will not ever want for anything. So fuck
yeah.
you.
How do you feel about this?
I didn't
because we haven't spoken about this specifically. I feel it's stupid. I feel it's stupid, and I know it's never going to get any traction. But how do you feel about that petition to bring Lucas back to Star Wars? Yeah, no, me either. Yeah.
No, 2 middle fingers to that one right there. You're done,
Yeah.
buddy. It's over. You had your time. You did well back in the 70s and 80s because you had other people writing for you. But
Well, more like the fans. The fact that this is suddenly all everybody that hated him for the prequels and thought that he should be removed from Star Wars, now all of a sudden they want him back. Like that's what I don't understand. It's like, what?
Not this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it can be said. Everybody knows fans are fickle. Science fiction nerds, they're fickle. But this right here, all the vitriol that he got for a fucking decade, or for a decade and a half, and now all of a sudden we get a great movie, and everybody's like, well, no, we want him back because blah, blah, blah. This is too much like New Hope. Like, what the fuck do you want?
It's like the beaten housewife who finally divorces the asshole husband, but then, 6 months down the road, she's like, but I miss him, It's got to be that. It's got to be some sort of, Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but
he didn't mean it when he created midichlorians.
Exactly.
He still loves the Force.
No, he doesn't. Trust me.
Yeah.
I think that he's, I read something that kind of hit home perfectly about why he was a failure in the prequel eras, and it makes total sense. He has always been a visual guy. He's a visual director, and he just went balls to the wall. He went balls deep on visuals. And, there was so much complaining from the actors that worked with him during the prequel era about the fact that he didn't give a shit about sets, acting, anything. And basically the catchphrase was, post-production, just do this in front of the green screen, do it however you want because it's all going to be pretty behind you. And that's going to drive the story. That's going to drive the movie and make people want to see it. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
Oh yeah.
That's
why I think that a lot of the vitriol that Hayden Christensen gets isn't really valid because he didn't get any direction.
Exactly. You can't make shit beautiful if you're not getting any kind of direction for it. So I can understand that. And even, come on, Ewan McGregor's an amazing actor, and he sucked so bad in episode 2, I couldn't even believe it. I was like, I mean, you're phoning it in, buddy. Either you're not directing or he's not directing and you're not acting, or there's some sort of horrible fucking combination going on here. But, obviously there was, you go to the top, if the student isn't learning, you blame the teacher, and it's the same thing. If the movie sucks, go to the director first, and that's where you're at, So
there's this funny anecdote that Peter Serafinowicz has given over the years. I saw it on it's a clip from the Graham Norton show on BBC. Peter Serafinowicz, he's an actor. He's been in he's works a lot with like Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. He was in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and stuff. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was the voice of Darth Maul. However many lines Maul had, what, like 5 lines maybe? No, Boba Fett had 5 lines. I think Maul had like 3 lines. If that, yeah.
No.
And so he says that last we have our revenge, last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
That's one line.
That one line. Okay, well,
That's
either way, whatever he had. Well, oh no, I think there were a couple lines that were cut from the movie. That's what
Oh,
it
okay,
was.
okay.
I think, yeah. Either way, he went in. He's like, cool. I'm gonna be in Star Wars. He's like, I got a Star Wars sized paycheck. This is awesome. He goes in and he says his lines, and they're like, cool. He's in there for like maybe 10 minutes, and they're like, cool, thanks, man, we got it. And he's like, oh, I can do it a couple more times for you. I can give you a couple different takes. I can give you, a couple different emotions. And George Lucas is like, no, we got it. Don't worry, thanks. And he's like, okay. And apparently he felt kind of like, well, what the fuck did you hire me for? Even though he got the Star Wars sized paycheck and he gets to be in a Star Wars movie, he's like, well, what did you need me for? And that's sort of kind of echoes what a lot of things have been said about working on the prequels, at least. Of course, it's famous that in the original trilogy, his main direction was faster, more intense. Faster, more intense. It's like he never tried to mold a performance out of anybody. But basically, the joke was, Carrie Fisher said this a couple times, they just wanted to get him like a two-sided sign. One side said faster, the other side said more intense. So he's not an actor's director, as has been said many times before. But so I don't think that bringing him back would do anything, would be a service to anybody. I would love to see what his treatment for Episode 7 would have been. I would hate to have had it actually happen, even not knowing what it was.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And what was it? Episode 9 they were saying they wanted him to come back for, or was it 8? I thought it was 9.
No, 9. Yeah, they wanted
9.
him back for 9 because 7 obviously is done and 8 is already going. So they were like, oh, let's bring him back for 9.
Yeah.
No, so that way we can get 2 great movies, then have him fuck that up,
right? Kill the end? Hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and all right, cool. So last tidbit on the Rebel Roundup, the short list for Han Solo. Have you seen this?
Yes, I saw the images. I didn't do too much investigating on that, so.
I looked a bit into it. I actually did my research. There's a couple people on that thing that I've never heard of, or not that I've never heard of, but that I've never seen any of their work. There's a couple who I think actually would work really well. But what I think is the most interesting that nobody's really talking about is that the short list is supposed to be 12 actors, and they've only revealed 8 of them. Yeah. So there's still 4 that might be out there somewhere. So I'm hoping that whoever is on the last bit, those last 4 people, are a little bit more interesting than what we see on that short list. Let me see. I'm pulling it up. We've got. Let's see here. Scott Eastwood, son of Clint Eastwood. We've got Logan Lerman, Percy Jackson, Dave Franco, brother of James Franco. Funny guy, decent actor in his own right. I don't think he's right for Han Solo at all.
Me either.
No, not at all. Miles Teller, who is Reed Richards. I was like, I've seen this guy's face before. I couldn't remember he was Reed Richards in the shitty Fantastic Four movie. I think he's probably the one I think that looks most like Harrison Ford, in my opinion. But I haven't seen him act. I never watched Fantastic Four.
He did a decent job. You can't blame the actors for that movie. It wasn't shitty acting. It was just everything else. So, I'd say he did a pretty decent job. So.
Cool. Okay. So, let's see. Who else do we have here? We've got Ansel Elgort. Sounds like, you're choking on something when you say his name. He was in The Fault in Our Stars and the Divergent series, which I haven't seen either.
Yeah, nor have I.
Yeah. Who else do we got here? Dave Franco, like I said. The thing about Dave Franco, and I'm not sure if it's because he's worked with Lord Miller before, the guys directing the movie. He's worked with them. They did the 21 Jump Street movies. So I think that's why he's on the short list. He has a relationship with them. They're probably buddies.
I wouldn't. He's got one style though, and it's kind of the stone sort of looking off in the distance sort of style, and I just not for Han. No.
I mean, and granted, we of course we want to be fair and say that like anything, they're all supposedly actors, so they could kind of surprise us, or they could stretch their acting muscles. Who knows? But I don't see that with Dave
No,
Franco. I'm sorry.
no.
It's being presumptuous, I guess, without seeing anything, and it's being super nerdy. It's judging something before I actually see it. But with Dave Franco, just everything that I've seen him in, every single thing I've seen him in, from Neighbors to like I said, the 21 Jump Street movies, he's the same character.
Yeah, yeah. I agree 110%.
Jack Rayner. Oh, okay. I didn't even know who this guy was from. He was the boyfriend in Transformers: Age of Extinction.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? That might have been it. Scott Eastwood looks just like Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was supposed to play Han Solo. Haven't seen him in anything. Didn't even know he was an actor. Didn't know he existed.
Yeah.
Logan Lerman again, Percy Jackson. Everybody seems to be all about Logan Lerman. Everything that I've read, every sort of inside source or people that whose opinions I trust are like Logan Lerman would be perfect. I've only ever seen him in the first Percy Jackson movie.
Yeah.
I think I bought Perks of Being a Wallflower for Christina, never watched it. So just going off that, I was like, really, Logan Lerman, that little kid actor? But apparently he's grown up and he's had some really good roles. So cool. I mean, whatever. Again, you get it. So I'm not really. I'm more of a wait and see kind of guy. Like whoever they cast, I feel they have good. The directors have decent taste. You know what I mean? So I'm like all right with whoever at this point.
Yeah, as am I.
This is Emery Cohen. He was on a short-lived NBC show that I remember being advertised a lot. Never watched it, called Smash. It was supposed to be a musical, like a musical show. Every episode was a musical. That's that guy, and I believe that was all of them. Oh no, this last guy, who is Blake Jenner, who is also from Glee. In another musical show from Glee, and he is currently on Supergirl apparently. He's the one I think also, other than Miles Teller from Fantastic Four, I think he looks the part the most. But I'm not really too concerned about what they look like in the role. You know what I mean? I'm more about the performance itself. So
Yeah, time will tell.
What do you think about the whole thing in general? The list, the actors. What do you want from the role?
I would like more of an unknown to be in there. Someone with some talent. I think that currently Disney has got the right idea for casting. They're not going top of the line A-listers that would stand out too much for the most part. So they're doing a good job there, and I think if they continue in that trend, for the newer parts for The Force Awakens, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, even to a lesser extent, I know Oscar Isaac's a little more he's slightly more high profile.
Some stuff,
yeah, but still grounded enough, indie enough, I guess, to qualify as kind of in that space. And I like that. I like the way they're going with that. So I think they should keep going on that. I think, like Dave Franco, I think that's token, really. Like you said, I think he's just in there token. I think if they go with, Percy Jackson would be, I'll just use his name since I don't have the list of me, but Percy Jackson would be a kind of decent, addition. The kid's got some chops, so that would be good. I don't know too much about the other guys to make a very informed decision. But, I think that with Disney's trend of their casting, they'll make the right decision for everybody. Yeah. Although it makes me a little nervous that two people that are primarily in the musicals. Hopefully Han Solo's not going, Broadway. So.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't see it. I don't see it as that, but I kind of do think that's actually might be a boon. No, I get that, but I mean, in all honesty, I think that might be a boon because Han Solo's supposed to be kind of funny. That's why I know a lot of people now. There's some backlash against like Chris Pratt just because he's more popular now. It's sort of the cool thing to hate on the idea of Chris Pratt being in anything else that's iconic. Yeah, I liked him, and I think he would be a great Han Solo, whatever. But he has that comedic timing. You know what I mean? I would see him more primarily as a comedic actor than an action star. And same with these guys. Like, I mean, I think that, them being musically inclined or having, a sort of a musical performance background, not so much like pop stars, but the fact that they've been in musical shows, it's kind of like, that's an interesting way to go. That's why I'm like, okay, I can kind of see them,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would loathe to have Han Solo break out in song, or I would love it. Either one, if him and
It
Chewie duetted it,
depends, maybe if they do the holiday, holiday special part 2, he can be the one singing Life Day
Yeah,
part
yeah.
2.
There you go.
So,
But cool. All right. Well, there you go. That's some of the juiciest bits of Star Wars.
oh,
New. Oh, what?
I've got 2 things to add to the Rebel Roundup. They're
Cool.
quick little snippets.
Cool.
One was an interview with John Boyega where he revealed that Episode 8 is going to be dark. Like,
Yes.
dark, like Empire dark. So,
Good.
well, I'm hoping that they do it in their own way and kind of start to pull away from the mirroring. I
Yeah.
have this fear that they're going to try and mirror Empire too much. But, I'm all for the dark, and I think that if they, mirror Empire to the effect that Empire ended so dark and that it had such dark overtones, but change settings, change things around. We don't want a city in the clouds or
Yeah.
any crap like that. I think that would be a great thing, but I'm actually looking very much forward to Episode 8, having some
Yeah.
dropping down on a very down note.
And having this is like dark themes, but not the same dark themes as
Right,
Empire.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen Episode 4 being mirrored, so, and even, I believe I remember seeing JJ saying that they're going to try and start pulling away from that exact mirroring and go more towards a unique direction, so that
Good.
would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Rogue One, some thoughts on that. They're, I guess, saying Vader is going to be in Rogue One in some capacity now.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. I saw that. Not only that. Well, actually, I think that's actually confirmed.
Yeah.
That's happening. The rumor, however, and I can't believe I forgot about this when talking about Han Solo, is that they're trying to get him cast as quickly as possible because apparently he is going to be, or at least make a cameo in Rogue
Oh,
One.
really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't hear
So,
that. I heard Hayden Christensen, but I didn't hear that. So,
and see, this is where the rumor mill gets all mucked up because I heard that Hayden Christensen was going to be in Episode 8, not Rogue
yeah,
One.
I heard that too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of all over the place. But, take it for what it is, and that's what we're going to be possibly seeing. Maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah.
But,
The TMZ did release some photos of the X-wings from Rogue One. They look
yeah.
really badass. Yeah, they're the original trilogy style X-wings with the snub nose and the four engines.
Engines, yeah.
Yes. I don't know if you saw the photos themselves. They're like a badass like gray and black paint scheme. Like they just look really really cool, like really stealthy. So I'm it goes along with the whole like stealth commando heist thing, but also it confuses me because Rogue One, it's supposed to be this on the ground war heist movie. And I was bummed out when I first heard that because I was like, I thought it was going to be about Rogue Squadron and the X-Wing fighters. Now we're seeing that there's a bunch of X-Wings, so is it sort of alluding to the fact that it's going to be the Rogue Squadron, the fighter pilot squadron? Am I finally getting my X-Wing movie? Or is it just a weird tease because, they have to tie the name into the idea of from the original trilogy somehow?
Who knows? Maybe it was misinformation at first to kind of get people to chill until
that's what I'm hoping
start
for.
rolling. Yeah, because I'm ready for some space battles again.
Yeah.
I was a little. That's one thing about the Force Awakens. I was a little disappointed. It's Star Wars and there weren't space battles.
Yeah.
Come on now. And okay, yeah, there was the TIE fighter with Poe and
but that was an
Finn.
escape. It wasn't like it wasn't a battle. It wasn't a space battle. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's get some space battles going.
Here's a question: if it is about the X-wings and there are space battles and it's Rogue One and whatnot, and it's set in that time period, who the fuck should they get to play Wedge Antilles, man?
Right.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Like to see Wedge
my
again.
God.
Jansen and Hobby, Jansen and Hobby, they're alive during that time. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Hell, maybe we could see Biggs.
Why not?
Yeah,
Porkins.
Cool.
Kevin
and
James.
Porkins.
Kevin James.
No, fuck that. Me. I should go. I should go and fucking audition for Porkins. Why not? Just dye my beard, my hair red, and just.
Well, do you remember on a quick personal side note when Episode 2 came out? Where were we? Oh man, I don't remember was I still at Alien Worlds? I don't remember.
You were still at Alien Worlds for Episode 2 during that whole period. I remember that.
And did I ever reveal to you that I was actually planning on going to Hollywood and auditioning?
Yeah. That was it. Wasn't even like a did I reveal it? It was like a did you ever shut up about it?
Okay.
I remember when because I think maybe we were I don't know if we were living together at the time or not yet, but I
Not
remember
yet. Not yet.
not yet. Okay, well I remember the Entertainment Weekly came out with him on the
Yes.
cover with him like Hayden
Oh
Christensen barefoot with the
man.
Vader helmet, and you were like, yeah, I mean I should have gone. I thought I was too old, but here he is. I thought they were gonna go for a blonde, young guy, and here he is, brown hair,
Had brown
looks
hair
just
and a
like me.
goatee.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
so pissed.
yeah, yeah. I remember that.
That was
Well,
my
there you go. I can accomplish that for you. I'll
There
go.
you
I'll
go,
get
man.
cast as Porkins
Do that because
yeah
that was my 15 minutes of grandeur, my delusions of grandeur.
yeah.
So
That's funny.
there was
But
that.
yeah,
Anyway, back from
missed off
memory lane.
back from memory lane. But all right, anything else Star Wars related?
Nope, I think that was it.
Cool, cool. All right, all right. Then yeah, one of the topics that I really the only topic that I really had other than just general comic talk, which we usually get to at the end of the episode, anyways, is the Oculus Rift.
Ooh, yeah.
It's finally, it's pretty much done. It's coming out. Pre-orders are open for it. They're going to ship March 28th. So within the next 2.5 months, people will be, doing what, a lot of 90s science fiction thrillers said we were going to be doing by now, and that's
We were ready for this 20 years ago.
Lawnmower Man, hackers.
Lawnmower Man, hell yeah.
We're finally getting VR. However, not everybody's getting VR because the motherfucker is $600, $599.99.
Yeah.
A couple bits of interest to me. I don't know the specs. I don't know any of the details. To me, that's not necessarily what's really interesting about this. What's really interesting about this idea of not even just the Oculus Rift itself, but of the pricing. Is this a way for tech companies or for people who are trying to expound the proliferation of high tech gadgetry and toys and experiences? Is this a way for them to sort of create? Now, I don't want to say create a case because it's not that serious, but to create, only certain people are going to be able to experience Oculus Rift. You know
No,
what I mean?
I
You
don't
don't
think
think
so.
it is? You don't
No.
think it is?
And I'll tell you why. Because people will pay what the fuck ever. You'll go, you'll pawn your guitars, you'll fucking hoe out your wife for a weekend. People will do whatever it takes to get shit. I mean, God, man. If you recall, or you might not remember, you might have been too young, but when the NES first dropped, shit was $299, $300, and
It was $199. Yeah, it was $199. I don't remember it, but I just
$299.
historically it was.
I was like 7 or 8, when I was, I was very young myself,
Yeah,
but I remember that I went through hell and high water to make sure my parents got me one, and they did because unless some people weren't fortunate, some people aren't fortunate enough to have that, of course, because so there will be this bridge. But it's not going to. It's going to be the same bridge that's always been. There's the less fortunate class that has to work a lot harder to get certain things, and then there's the middle class or the lower middle class that if you scrimp and you save and you work hard enough, you can get these things eventually. And that's how it's going to be. If it was like $2,000, $3,000, okay, yeah. Then I would say there's definitely, if you have to take a line of credit out to get something, yeah, there's definitely some sort of intent to, especially for a piece of tech like that, to create some sort of division. But 600, $6, you scrimp for a couple months, you save, you pawn shit, and you're gonna get it. It's the same as Xbox Ones. It's the same as everything. And for the punch that it's delivering, what it's promising, people are going to go for it. I'm pretty sure eventually I will be going for it. I'm really stoked. Now, my question is this: is the Morpheus, I believe, is what it's called, for the PS4, sort of the PS4's version of the Oculus Rift? Is that running the same price tag?
Well, here's some egg on my face. I thought the Oculus Rift was just VR in general. I thought it was going to be compatible with everything. Is the Oculus Rift just the Xbox stuff?
It's I believe it's PC, and most likely and don't quote me on this, but most likely for Xbox One.
Well, no, it is. I know at
Oh,
least
it is?
because I actually have the page right
Okay.
before we started. I wanted to do a little bit of research. And yeah, the Oculus Rift, when you pre-order it, you get the deck, the headset, and it actually comes with an Xbox One controller.
Okay.
And it comes with the Oculus remote, which I don't know what that does specifically. But
Well,
when I was reading, I thought that it was going to be an Xbox One style remote that was compatible with whatever. But I mean, that makes no sense.
so I was going to say, no. Keep in mind, Xbox One controllers are compatible with PCs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
okay.
but, it would make sense if it was compatible with the Xbox because of the architecture. But it was developed for PC and on PC. Sony is actually coming out with its own VR headset for PS4, which I believe is called the Morpheus, and is going to provide pretty much the same function. I wouldn't be surprised if it does come with pretty close to the same price tag.
Well, it's funny because I now I actually would bet dollars to donuts that it's going to be less. I think because
I'm not saying it'll be the same price. But I would say $299 to $399.
Yeah. Which is honestly, I mean, that's a whole different income tax bracket, if you ask me, in terms of how
true.
easy it is. You know what I mean? Because it's funny because it sort of it goes back to the whole Xbox One PS4 fiasco. 2.5 years ago when they first came out. Xbox One came out thinking they were all badass, and then PS4 was like, well, we're seeing what you're doing, and we're seeing how people are responding to it, so we're going to do ours better. And it's only up until maybe the last 8 or 9 months that Xbox has caught up to PS4 in terms of
overtaken,
consoles.
actually.
Yeah, have they really? Cool,
yeah.
that's good. But
not good. I have a PS4. It sucks.
No, me too. Yeah. Well, no, I mean I love my PS4, but
no. My PS4 doesn't suck, but the fact that Xbox has overtaken PS4, does suck. I mean, now Xbox Ones are backwards compatible, which really grinds my gears because I've got a shit ton of 360 games, and that was my major. Like when I was buying my PS4, that was my major bubble. I was like, if Xbox One becomes backwards compatible, I'm totally gonna buy one of those. And
you're dropping all kinds of awesome knowledge on me right now because that's another thing also is that I would love to get a bunch of cheap Xbox 360 games. I'm retro. I literally just found out about 4 days ago that any PS3 now is backwards compatible all the way to PS1. So I've been playing like Super Puzzle Fighter and Legend of Dragoon and shit like that, and it's like I just found that out 4 days ago. Now knowing that Xbox One is backwards compatible, is it with 360 and original Xbox?
No, just 360, as far as I know.
Either way, that's badass because there's a ton. I was gonna say now I can finally play KOTOR, but no, I think those are original Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
well, either way, there's a ton of Xbox exclusives that now I could play if I were to get an Xbox One, so that's pretty cool.
Of course, they sell KOTOR on like Steam for like $9.99, so drop $10.
I'm not a PC gamer.
I also have the original for Xbox as well. I have an Xbox, by the way, an original Xbox.
I need to get one because I'll randomly go to like the Goodwill or whatever, and I'll buy like random original Xbox games when they're cheap.
Yeah.
So I need to get one of those, but
I've got a modded one, so it's awesome. It's great.
Does it have like the emulators and stuff on it?
Yeah.
Nice, old school.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, okay, so if the PS4 does come out with the Morpheus, I do honestly think that it's going to be at a lower cost. It's probably going to right out the box take care of some of the issues that the Oculus Rift might have. And actually, even what you were saying originally, I see that's absolutely right. Like it's not out of the price range of even lower middle class families.
Yeah.
If you have an Xbox One, you can get an Oculus Rift. You know
exactly.
What I mean? Yeah.
You might have to go through the same toils you went through to get your Xbox One, but that's the price you pay.
Yeah, and I mean, if you had a 360 or a PS3 when those first came out, those were the same price. I believe the 360 was well, I mean, they were both 500, I think. So nowadays, with inflation or whatever, it's about the same. So yeah, you're right. It was just a thought. I was thinking like that's kind of funny, like. But now I just want a Morpheus, or I want an Xbox One and an Oculus Rift because I think it's gonna be badass.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, with as high of a price tag as it is, it's just the beginning, sadly. Because they are coming out with shit you wouldn't believe, man. I mean, they've got 8-way treadmills for
I've seen
movement.
those.
They've
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah.
resistance gauntlets, so like it gives you the
It,
tactile
yeah, it feels
sensation.
like somebody's grabbing you, or they have the chest plates that makes it feel like you're getting hit.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
mean
I mean, the
this.
Oculus Rift is based. It's the shell.
Yeah,
There's so much shit that you can put on there. Modular type shit you can put on there.
you're gonna look like fucking Master Chief by the time you're ready to play a
it,
game, but
it's gonna. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you'll be fully immersed, and that's kind of the end goal here is where we're going with it, and that's probably going to be the standard until we can get like a holodeck style kind of this room becomes its own, VR thing. So until we can get to that point, which I think they're actually working on.
Yeah.
I can't remember the glasses. God, what's it called? Breakaway reality or fuck. Oh well.
I don't
Um,
know.
it's something like breakaway. It's not virtual reality. It's like breakaway reality or blah 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 blah. And it's this pair of glasses that I think Google or Microsoft is developing that basically integrates VR into everyday real shit. Like you could be playing.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It layers or it overlays shit in.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you could be playing Minecraft on your wall, or with your wall. So
Yeah.
it's just pretty interesting. But they're focusing more on getting out of the inside of the virtual reality and bringing it outside. So I think
Pokemon Go.
there you go.
Pokemon
Yeah,
Go. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a smartphone game
yeah, I have.
okay, yeah, it's getting sort of like you can you'll see it through there and you can see the Pokemon jump around. So
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, I can't. I don't know how much that's gonna cost when it comes out. That would be awesome to experience. But yeah, but even with just the fucking 8-way treadmills and all that, you're gonna be looking like the guy from Hackers, when he's in
yeah.
his room. He freaks out when somebody comes to the room because he's sitting there shooting people and getting hit and stuff. It's gonna be hilarious.
Right, right.
But no, it's gonna be cool, and I do like the fact that regardless of how expensive it might be on the at the outset, it's eventually it's gonna either be priced to where everybody can maybe try it out, or with situations like this, you're going to be able to go. I think maybe arcades might make a comeback, or maybe not arcades, but
Possibly.
virtual VR, Oculus, Morpheus hubs where you can go pay and play games like that. You know what I mean? So
Possibly. That'd be interesting. And we've said this before in previous podcasts, but playing Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, with Morpheus would be something special. Oh my God. So yeah,
I haven't put that game in the PS4 since the last time you and I played.
really. I've
Yeah,
played here and there a few times. When I get bored with Fallout or Final Fantasy, I'll pop that in and do a couple fighter squadrons, maybe one fucking ground assault, and be done with it.
yeah. Yeah, I've finished Arkham Knight a couple days ago. I'm just trying to complete a couple of the side missions. Like you have to have like 7 side missions completed by the time you get to the end of the storyline to unlock like the final cutscene in the credits. So
Mm.
literally, I think I did that today. I just have to go and initiate the ship so I can finish the game. But
Cool.
I haven't been playing too much PS4 lately. Again, today I came home with a PS2 game, a PS1 game, and a Nintendo game. That's my shit. So.
Oh,
What?
speaking of backwards compatibility,
Yeah.
PS4 is failing at backwards compatibility because they're trying backwards compatibility. What they're doing, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but they're adding PS2 games into the PlayStation Store
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
selling them for like $14.99. And this is the wrong way to do it. They're making
Yeah.
bad choices.
Making
So
people buy games twice and shit.
right, exactly. I wouldn't do it. So
Nah.
they need
Nah.
to wisen up. Plus, there is a PS3 emulator for PC that is coming along very nicely. It's been ground to a halt over the last 6 months because of hardware. You're going to need some pretty hellacious hardware to run this emulator, and they didn't really have too much of it before that. But since DirectX 12 has dropped,
Mhm.
and the Haswell machines have kind of been beefing up a little bit. They're starting to actually get some emulated PS3 games on the PC, so I'm actually
Nice.
really looking forward to that. I've got a top of the line huge Haswell computer with maxed out RAM and a great video card, so I'm
Nice.
hoping that when that drops, I'll be able to run PS3 games. I might not. I might still have to upgrade, but we'll see.
Yeah. So with the PS3 emulator, would that be able to
No.
play PS2 and PS1 ROMs on
Oh,
it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, since it's an emulator machine, you're going to be playing ROMs, and since the actual machine itself can play PS2 and PS1 games, would you be
I
able
would
to?
I would think not for two reasons. One, there's already a great working PS2 emulator. It works perfectly. I've played many, many games on it, and it runs beautifully with a good PC. So they probably wouldn't want to delve too far into that. And same with PS1. There's a lot of perfectly functioning PS1 emulators out there. For that reason, and also that the coding and architecture, it would be adding more coding and more architecture into the emulator itself instead of just PS3 architecture and coding. They'd have to go back and add the older coding as well. But I mean, don't quote me on that. Maybe they can, and maybe they will. Maybe it's not that difficult. My coding knowledge is
Well, that's
shaky
what I
at
was gonna say.
best.
Like, I know even less than you do, but just I guess as sort of an educated question. I mean, since the actual PS3 itself can do that, if they were just coding the PS3, wouldn't it automatically be in there with like the coding? You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have to add older coding to
Well,
add the PS2. You know what I mean?
when they do that, they're rebuilding. They're basically reverse engineering a PS3. So I guess it is possible. It depends on if they want to take the time to go back and grab that though, because they're not just
Yeah,
grabbing the whole code and grabbing it,
yeah.
throwing it in. They're taking chunk by chunk by chunk by chunk and putting it in there. So,
Like to make it easier for themselves, they're probably just taking what they need to emulate the PS3 stuff,
that would
right?
be
Like,
my guess. That would be
yeah.
my guess. Not putting all the other bloated stuff in there. You could
Yeah.
also it comes loaded with this, that, and the other.
Like you can watch Netflix on it, or like that type of shit.
Right,
I get,
yeah,
yeah.
or connect to the
It's probably
PSN
just for
network.
the software.
That would be
Yeah.
my guess. So, and don't quote me on that. I'm by no means, totally knowledgeable of it, but that would just be my educated guess on that. Would it be that
Nice.
they're going to kind of skip out of that?
Cool. Cool. Nice. That was a good little tech review. We haven't really
Yeah,
delved too much into tech on this podcast yet. I think we mentioned it maybe a couple times, but
yes.
yeah.
Tech Corner was nice.
But it shows how little I know about that shit. Like we can talk about Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega, and I'll fucking talk circles. But when it comes to new shit, I'm there. I don't even know how I managed to get this thing edited whenever
Yeah.
I do it.
Well, got to stick with the times, man. You're getting old. You got to stick with what the young kids are doing.
Fuck that. I like what I did when I was young.
Damn kids, me too. It's sad. Kids suck.
Eventually, I'll beat level 3 Battletoads. Eventually, I might be 65 when I do it, but eventually it'll happen.
Oh
But
shit.
yeah,
Hey, I just
but yeah,
recently
cool.
I
Oh
just
yeah, what?
recently I just recently beat Ninja Gaiden like a few months ago, so I was like super happy about that. Only
Nice.
took me 25 years, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's how. I mean, what is it? I got Battletoads in 90. Shit, 26 years and I'm still on level 3.
God.
Uh, yeah. Oh well,
Oh well.
it'll happen.
Yeah.
But cool. So okay, so we're gonna go right from all the tech and technology and numbers to I think something a little bit more esoteric. I think we've both kind of been obviously we're artists, we're writers, we're musicians, but I think you were telling me before this that you were really sort of starting to practice I guess different styles of art. You were trying to sort of expand your artistic horizons. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I've been getting really, and we can contribute this to the Force Awakens and kind of the resurgence of Star Wars right now, but I've always, 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 ever since the very beginning when I started getting behind the scenes with Star Wars, I've always loved Ralph McQuarrie's work. Always. Huge fan of his. And, to that extension, when I started taking art a little more serious, only a mere, 3, 4 years ago now? Not very long ago. Um, I wanted to delve into matte paintings, and I've been really studying Ralph McQuarrie and his work on the old Star Wars matte paintings and concept art and things like that, as well as some of the work in Empire and some of the other guys. I can't remember their names off the top of my head that did the matte paintings from Empire because I was really enamored with those as well. But the color palette of Ralph McQuarrie's really his coloring method and his style really, really, entranced me. And I work digitally. I'm 100% pretty much digital. I mean, I do work on pencil and paper sometimes, but I'm a Photoshop guy, and so I've been working on kind of translating how my color palettes can kind of work over into the digital world, and because as it was when I was first coloring my comics, I went from knowing absolutely nothing. It's a gradual chain of knowledge, and I went from knowing absolutely nothing to kind of picking up tips here and there on YouTube to kind of studying other styles and seeing how they use their colors and trying to emulate that in a digital world. And that's what I'm doing now with Ralph McQuarrie, is kind of seeing how he uses his colors, which is a really neat combination. There's two prescribed combinations. There's two prescribed methods of coloring, really. There's the cell shaded, which are more harder colors, harder lines.
Delineated shades, like really one color, even if it's the same texture, if it's the same surface, the two different colors, from the difference of the shading, they're two solid different colors, there's that.
Right,
then,
right. And it's very much, very much used in basic constructed animation, Samurai Jack, kind of things like that. Even old Looney Tunes and things like that. So, there's that, which is a very in-your-face kind of method of shading. And then there's the trend of the last 15, 20, 25 years now, especially in comic books, is the kind of airbrush look, the soft shading. How you'll sit there and you'll put the highlights on the muscle tones and then the lowlights underneath the muscle tones to bring out that kind of definition. And it's becoming aged, really. People are experimenting more with different styles now because it's starting to look very Jim Lee 1995 sort of style.
Liquid. Do you remember Liquid?
Yes.
Yeah, from like Marvel in the mid to late 90s, like Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
It was very, like, I remember the one guy or the one company he would always sign it Liquid, and it has that very not digital like Tron looking vibe, but really, like, you can tell that it's not individually stroked. It's not applied in layers. It's a very digital. It's and it really does look like digital airbrush. And that's a perfect way of saying it, is that it looks airbrushed.
Yeah, and it's very it's got a sheen to it. It's very, you can tell, you can see it right off the bat. And the masters, the great colorists, will find a way to kind of make it not look so. And that's kind of been the trend lately, is they still use an airbrush. Don't get me, it still is very much airbrushed, but they're finding ways to kind of blend it out and make it look a little more natural versus the in-your-face kind of airbrush that they used back then.
Yeah.
Well, and what I was doing with Ralph McQuarrie is that, or when I was studying what he was doing, I could see that he used both of those styles very effectively together. There was that hard, light cell shading that you'd see a lot, but then there was this softer shading coming in underneath it that I wouldn't say it was airbrushed, but maybe with like a very soft 2-inch brush, since he was painting. Bring it on there and kind of thinning it really nicely.
Giving a real soft kind of like an aura kind of vibe, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Which one of my other huge idols in art, Bob Ross, was extremely good at doing as well. So I've been kind of trying to use my my artistic eye to see those kind of trends in coloring, because that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm coloring my second issue of my comic. So, I'm very much into color right now. I won't be penciling and inking again for another 3 or 4 months, so I'm kind of out of penciling and inking right now, other than sketching, and very much into color.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with Bob Ross. I just mentioned, he's got that that style of blending. He used a lot less hard shading, though. His was very soft. A lot of his stuff was very soft, very blended, very. That was his whole style, was soft and blended.
Yeah.
So, I'm pulling less away. I'm pulling more away from that, but still taking aspects of it. Try and get a good feel for it.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Very
I mean, it's good to obviously to try new things, not to sound it's like I'm full of cliches. It's good to try new things, but it's also really good to not only try new things and to pull things from other artists, but to try to like not innovate, but to try to work them into something that works for whatever it is that you're trying to do. Ralph McQuarrie, obviously, he's one of the best people that you could ever pull from because his style is wonderful. You know, there's a ton of people that have worked on Star Wars, and it's like it's great because they worked on Star Wars, but individually their stuff isn't necessarily that great. Ralph McQuarrie, he's a master. You know, he's
Yeah.
really good. So his coloring, you're absolutely right, is beautiful. His palette, like everything that he does, has this sort of and maybe I mean obviously that's what gave all that concept art for Star Wars that everybody knows and loves, and that was used honestly to sell the movie to the producers so that they would fund it and finance it. I think that's what really did it. It has its own style and it's gorgeous sort of crispness to it. You know what I mean? And not just his color and his style, but his design, like his design aesthetic. You know, he invented or he designed that Darth Vader mask. You know, that iconic look of it. You know, he created the ties and the X-wings and all that. So he's
Oh
really
yeah.
good. Yeah, he's really wonderful. If you're not familiar with it, because I mean, you know, not a lot of people know some of the unsung heroes behind, you know, the movies and the trilogies and whatnot.
This is
Go
true.
look up Ralph McQuarrie stuff. So it's funny too that you mentioned like some of the other artists. There's only one that I really remember, and I just picked up the art of the Force Awakens, and it's got a lot of information and a lot of stuff about what they drew from, you know, from the archives and other ones. One of the main ones, the only other one other than Ralph McQuarrie that I can remember is Joe Johnston, who's now a director in his own right. He directed like the first Captain America. He directed The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. Did one of the very first designs for Yoda, and his was the approved design for Boba Fett actually. So he did all that, and his stuff is also really really cool. If you look up some of his work, I think you'll really like it, especially if you look up his old like Yoda designs.
Mhm.
Very kind of Ralph Bakshi Wizards, kind of Cheech Wizard kind of looking stuff. Really cool.
Wow.
Really cool. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, no, and I mean it's awesome. You know, you're getting more into your art. I haven't drawn in a while. I haven't done that. I've been writing. I've been getting back into my writing. Not so
Excellent.
much prose, but doing a lot of more lyrics or poetry or whatever. But one thing that did really stoke my fire, and I really kind of want to get back into it because we haven't worked on it in a couple weeks, is the audio drama, which I don't think we haven't
We
spoke about.
no, we
We haven't,
haven't told
yeah,
anybody about this yet, so I guess it's a good time to break it.
have at it. It's
All
your
right.
baby.
Well, yeah, we decided right when we started actually doing the podcast, Nerd Lives Matter, we decided we wanted to branch out into other mediums of art, you know, not be a one-trick pony and just have this because we're both writers, you know, we both, you know, we dabble or, you know, we're both artists, writers, kind of run the whole gamut. We even worked on a movie together once. Don't ask us about it because we won't fucking tell you
We were committed to film. All we'll say is we were committed to film.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and not that kind of movie, kids.
Yeah, no. Get your
Get
minds
your
out of the
mind out,
gutter.
yeah, exactly, out of the
Yeah.
gutter.
And
No,
it
it
wasn't a
was,
vanity project either. It wasn't a vanity project. We were in the hire of somebody else. Somebody else actually, yeah. All this we're not going to tell anything about it, and the first things we do is detail it. Anyways, never happened.
yeah, no. So anyway, yeah, so we've kind of branched out into just about every form of art we can possibly do, which is sort of our raison d'etre. You know, we're artists. So we decided that one of the things we were going to do is an audio drama. I had gotten really heavily into Welcome to Night Vale. I'll admit it; it's awesome. So you know that kind of laid the foundation of thought that hey, this would be a really cool thing to do. I started writing one, and we're co-writing it. So you know, I'll lay down the riffs, and he'll clean it up and put the harmonies on it to give it a little musical quality. And we also did music together as well. A Logical
Yeah.
Cybertron. Yeah.
Logical Cybertron. Yeah.
That was awesome shit too. I still have it. I gotta find it. But anyway,
Yes.
yes. But that is kind of our project right now. We've already written the first episode, I suppose. We're breaking it into little blocks, but it's going to follow one long narrative. So, you know, we've got the first little chunk ready to be recorded, and we've already gone through one quick read-through audition or one quick read-through and we're looking to voice one part, which I think we might have gotten, and we're ready to give it a run. And we haven't really decided who's going to do the producing, have we? I've got some of the tools.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think it's just, I mean, in all honesty, I think we're just gonna have to work in tandem. I mean,
yeah,
you have the tools and you're good at some of the stuff. I have the tools and I'm good at some of the stuff. You have ideas for something for some aspects of how it's going to be done. I have ideas for. I mean, it's just going to be like anything else. We're going to work on it together.
right.
Um, yeah. For those of you that don't know, Welcome to Night Vales. It's well, again, you explain just real quick what is Welcome to Night Vale because you're way more familiar with it.
I've already finished it. Welcome to Night Vale is it started off as an actual podcast, radio drama, or well, pod drama, since radio isn't really relevant nowadays. But it's basically a story. It's a news story about a fictitious town called Night Vale, and it's very Lovecraftian, very H.P. Lovecraftian, very kind of horror comedy sort of style thing, which I don't subscribe to any of the horror part of it because it's not scary at all. I think it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It's extremely well written. For the most part, the protagonist is one single news reporter. He runs the Night Vale radio station, and most of the stories you get are from him reading the news about this town and learning all about it. And as it developed a little bit more, they started adding more characters, more voices. They do live shows now. They tour the country. They tour the world doing live shows, which that would be awesome.
Yeah.
They've got a cast of characters. They've got their own in-house band that does all their music, Disparition, and they go with them on tour and do the live shows with them. And the live shows, which I think is brilliant, are side stories. They're not contained within the narrative of the podcast itself. That way, you don't really need to have seen the live shows to understand what's going on in the podcast. Since the live shows are, your tickets, you have to buy them and go and see them.
Yeah.
They want the podcast to be accessible for everybody. So it's really amazing. I've listened to some of the live shows. I've seen them. I've listened to the podcast itself in its entirety, and it's very well written, very inspiring, and it kind of stoked my fire to kind of do something not similar because we had our own idea about what we wanted to do, and
Yeah.
it was very much a departure from any kind of news based thing. More
Well, I honestly think that our idea, I mean, let's call it what it is, your idea, is it's more fun to me than I think doing just a riff on what they're doing is because what we're
right.
trying to do is a little bit more outwardly narrative.
Yeah.
It really is more of a drama. It's like the Welcome to Night Vale. It's a podcast in the style of a radio drama, kind of reading news, kind of like a War of the Worlds, Orson Welles thing from back in the day.
Yeah.
Ours seems to be more of a
More like
conceived
Annie.
storyline.
More like Annie back in the
Oh,
back in the 20s, Little
I
Orphan
gotcha.
Annie, not the play, damn it, or the
Yeah,
movie.
I was like the movie. No, yeah, but ours, it's more of a conceived storyline that we're gonna tell. It's like like an old Flash Gordon kind of
There you go, or
stuff
that.
like that. Yeah, or
Yeah.
that. Or something a little bit less,
Or if you ever saw that movie Haunted Honeymoon, that's another good example of where to go. No,
Oh, Haunted Honeymoon.
oh,
Mm-mm.
dude, Gene Wilder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Gilda
okay.
Radner, I think.
Probably, 'cause
It's
they-
amazing. Dom DeLuise.
Oh, wow. Is this the 70s? 80s?
80s, I think
80s?
mid to late 80s.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Check it out.
damn.
Great movie.
Okay. Called Haunted Honeymoon?
It was sort of an inspiration for what we're doing. That was kind of it was Night Vale, but then there was that in my head because that's sort of like what I wanted to do. So definitely check it out.
Go, you guys also, all you people out there.
Yes, Haunted Honeymoon, great movie. Gene Wilder.
But yeah, like so what we want to do, it's a bit more narrative. I really am enjoying the hell out of it. Like yeah, we finished the first episode basically. Dwayne, it's your idea, it's your concept.
No,
When
not true. It's our idea. We both came
well,
up with it. I painted the underlying picture, and then you kind of ran with it, and we started adding things.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Was that it was sort of it really was your sort of broad concept. I remember the day that you or the night that you told me about it. I immediately sort of started writing like a weird
Oh
monologue,
yeah.
just so following sort of the strokes that you laid down, and
Oh
we've
yeah.
definitely both added detail, but and I like the way that we're working, where you do a draft and I just sort of go in there and clean it up, punch it up a little bit, sort of tighten it. I
Hmm.
really like that. Obviously, I add in my details and whatnot, but it's the way I like it or the way I think of it is it's very also Lovecraftian, but not outright, eldritch cosmic monsters. I think it's more the tone. At least when
Exactly.
I write it, I try to have this undercurrent of kind of Neil Gaiman esque type stuff to it. I mean, obviously, not copying him. Never could I copy him. He's amazing, but sort
No.
of just the ideas of less is more kind of there's more beauty in horror than there is fear, I guess, kind of vibe is what I'm getting at madness and paranoia is a little bit more fun than outright scares and jumps. I don't know, did you want to go into what it's about, or are we playing core? Because
You
we don't have
know,
to give details, but we can so that way. Because honestly, he's right. We actually we finished the first episode. It's done. Like it doesn't need any more editing. I think it's really good. It's we've already run through it. We just need to do the sound mixing and the recording and stuff. Uh, but the concept itself, the idea itself is I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting.
I think we should keep some of the details close to the chest, but we could say that, you know, it's very ambiguous in its intention. It's very it's definitely got some darkness to it. You know, there's a very darkness, but that kind of comes in with the whole new game and the post-apocalyptic, which I just gave some shit away, sort of Lovecraftian feel to it. So, you know, there's a very big element of darkness, but there's going to be, you know, I'm hoping that we keep you guessing. I'm hoping that, you
Yeah,
know, we keep enough of it to where, you know, there's there's that thought, hey, what am I actually seeing here or hearing here? What is going on versus, oh, I know what's happening, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Uh,
definitely. I mean, I
and
guess
that's the
it
hope.
wouldn't be too much to say that all oddly enough, the idea of it or the execution of it is very much what we do here with the podcast.
Yeah.
It really is. It's two guys communicating uh, through an electronic medium, I guess. And we don't want to say again, we don't want to say too much because I really do think uh, I'll be honest with you. If there's something that we were like sort of riffing on or taking, pulling from or even playing off of, this is one of the most original things. And I no offense, but this is one of the most original things that you've ever come up with in terms of even just the broad stroke storyline.
Holy
Like,
fuck.
yeah, when you sort of broke it down to me, that's why I immediately, as soon as you told me, like 10 minutes after you sort of gave me the idea, I was already the juices were flowing and I was typing it.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't.
So
I can't think of anything that I was actually 100% riffing off of. You know, I mean, I had like, you know, that sort of feeling in the back of your mind. Yeah, there was Nightville. There was, you know, I think the Twilight Zone was kind of entering my head, just sort of as a
yeah, I get
very
that.
broad thought.
Yeah.
But you know, I can't think of any scenario or anything that I've seen done, watched, or anything like that that would transpose into what we're doing. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. That makes me feel pretty good about what we're doing. So
Yeah, and also this is probably just even just my own personal thing, but it makes me feel like I have free reign because there wasn't sort of in your mind, obviously, or even in my mind, there's not something that we're like, okay, so we got to do it like this. How did they do it? Let's work within these bounds. No, I honestly I feel like there's an open reign. You know what I mean? We have sort of the parameters that we've set for what the world is and what the situation is. But once we get in there, it's like we have the entire sandbox to play with.
oh yeah, absolutely. There's
Yeah,
no limit to what we can do because we don't have, you know, the way we structured it. We could tomorrow we could write it in this direction, and then the next day it could go in this direction, and it wouldn't miss a beat. It would be
Yeah.
perfectly logical to go there. So
Yeah. And the cool thing is that it's not an anthology, so
no,
it's not like oh well okay. So like again, I'm trying to uphold some of the mystery here. Like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're not I don't want you to or want you guys to think it's like an anthology. Like oh well then this episode's gonna be a western or this episode's gonna be. It's not like
no,
Samurai Jack. It's not like the Twilight Zone in that sense.
no, no, no,
It's
no.
there's a structure to it. There's a storyline and there is a set world and situation, but what can happen? It's a sandbox. It's really fun. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be out sooner rather than later. Um, the technical aspect of getting it recorded and getting it produced and stuff is going to be a little bit more challenging than some of the stuff that we've done so far, but not really too much. In terms of the technical production, I think it's going to be pretty easy. But what I'm really, really excited for is getting to work on the next episode. Honestly, I want to write. I want to write, and that's sort of what I've been getting more into. Sort of I guess getting back on track to what we're talking about is I've been wanting to do that. I've always I've been wanting to write some stories. I've written a couple original stories before and stuff, and actually completed them. But I've always sort of felt like it would be a disservice to myself if I were to try to write fan fiction for any specific franchise. But I'm kind of over that, and I kind of want to start doing that. I want to get back into prose more so than lyrics or poetry, like I have been in the past couple weeks. But again, I honestly just think it's kind of this weird post-holiday ennui that we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. But I don't know. This past week has gotten me stoked enough to actually want to record tonight and just actually doing this and getting those muscles working again, getting the juices flowing. I'm excited again about that. So.
Yeah. I've been the same way too, though. I mean, and that's actually when I finished writing that first little block for the radio drama, that really just bumped my juices up for writing, and I've gotten back to it. I'm finishing up. I'm 2 chapters away from my second novel being finished, so
Nice.
I'm almost done with that. And I've got Team Awesome issue 3 that I'm writing, and then I've got another idea for another comic that may or may not happen, but it's a really good one. So, writing is definitely popping up. So I really hope that we can keep stretching on this radio drama and really pour some of those juices we've got going into it, because so far it's great. It definitely brings out the brilliance of, and I'm not trying to pull some huge hubris here, but we're both good writers, and it definitely pulls out some of the greatness that we are capable of. I mean, I remember, I'm gonna sit there and pull an old man I remember story.
Nice.
When we were living together, we would sit with 2 other people, by the way. So get your minds out of the gutter again. We would sit at our table and get really drunk and write.
Really drunk, yeah.
And we would just write like crazy shit, and we'd sit there and we'd pass stories around. We had this whole bohemian kind of world going after the Scrabble games. But we would sit there and come up with some amazing shit. We'd have writing contests, and we would do some amazing writing at that time. And we would sit. I think we locked ourselves in a hotel room once and wrote.
Yeah.
And we wrote a movie. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we're definitely no strangers to collaborative efforts, and you've matured a lot in your writing over the years, because and that's all part of maturing, actually. Because when you were younger, your writing was good, but it had a lot of maturing to do, and you would always get so pissed at me because I'm sitting there lashing out this fucking crazy shit, and you're like, okay, I can do this too, and everybody's like, yeah, just do it a little bit better. But
or do it different than whatever it was I was reading at the time.
But you moved out of that, and you've matured to a level that's really great. I mean, even I'm envious sometimes. I'm like, shit, man, I wish I had that kind of energy to write like that.
That's cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But the sad news is, the bad part of it is, in about 10 years from now, you're going to be where I'm at, and you're like, fuck, I got to write again. Oh, shit.
Yeah. I'm like that right now. I'm like that
right now. It takes more
now.
effort to get going, They need Viagra for writers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great You just wrote something really cool right there. That was great.
I'm capable of a gym. I'm capable
There
of
you
a gym here and there still, so
go.
it's not over
Nice.
yet.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we have this radio drama because not only is it stoking the juices, but it's soaking in the same way that it used to, like you said, like back in the day when we would do sort of the roundtable, like let's pass the story around and see what we can each do with it, and
Yeah,
it's different. It's different, but it's the same in the sense, I guess, that it's obviously different because we're both different people. We both have honestly like matured in our writing. We both matured in our life and stuff, and the way I guess we go about thinking of writing has changed. I think
oh
for the
yeah,
better. Like I
oh
think for
yeah,
the better. And but this radio drama thing that we have, which we don't even have a name for it yet, it's it's fun. It's us able to flex those muscles in a different way.
it is.
Um, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We're definitely gonna keep you guys up as to the progress on that from here on out. We're gonna let you guys know what's going on. But yeah, look forward to that or look for that because it's something that I think we both are already kind of proud of. I think it's gonna be
Very
something we both
much.
can kind of see as a beacon. Is like, oh, that's something that we did. That's a signpost for, or that's the demarcation of I think a watershed almost. Like I think that's something that just even me seeing your stuff, like when you pass your first draft to me, and I'm just like, holy shit. I really only just need to sort of tighten. Like that's why I'll add a couple details here and there, but it's you
But
got it. You know what I mean?
yeah, but it wouldn't be the same without those details though. And I'm not just, stroking your ego or anything because I read what I wrote and then every time, bar none, I go back and I look at what you changed. I'll read it as the whole and then I'll go back and I'll look side by side and say, okay, this was changed, this was changed, this was changed. And I'm like, it would have been so much worse if it had been kept this way. And I'm not saying worse in a bad way, but
Yeah,
okay, more, it is so much better this way with those enhancements. You can't, if you've got a strong rhythm section, but no melody, what is it? It's just not the right song. And I see you as like the lead guitarist, man. You're putting that good melody right over everything that just makes the song perfect.
nice,
That's
nice.
just the best way of putting it.
Well, I appreciate that. Now let's stop stroking each other's
Yeah.
feelings.
Okay. All
All
right. Yeah.
right. All right. So either way, look for that. We'll let you guys know about that. Probably not just through the podcast, but through the group and everything. But yeah. Um, well, I mean, did you want to talk about comics? I actually have been reading a couple comics.
Yeah, let's touch on what we've been reading lately real quick. We can do that. Go for it.
Cool, cool. I'm not sure if the third issue is out yet, but I've read the first two issues of the new Daredevil. Oddly enough, written by I don't know his first name, the Soul guy. We were talking about Civil War II a
Mm.
couple shows back, and you said it was written by some guy named Soul, or I looked him up. Written by that same guy. Apparently, he's writing a couple different books on Marvel. Every couple of years that it was Bendis, and then it was Matt Fraction, and then it was Rick Remender, and now it's this guy apparently. Getting a bunch of good writing gigs there. Really good. Definitely, really, really a good comeback from the Mark Waid you know, fun Daredevils in San Francisco. Let's harken back to the swashbuckling 70s days. Definitely a really good comeback from that because I was not really feeling that stuff. This is back
Nor was
again.
I. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you reading or have you read these last two issues of Daredevil?
No, no, no,
No.
no. Maybe I should because I was reading the Daredevil in San Francisco and I put it down because it was
Yeah.
boring the hell out of me. I did not dig
Yeah.
it.
He's back in New York. He's actually
Good.
kind of the cool thing is that Nelson and Murdoch no longer exists. He's a public defender for the DA's office, and he's basically trying to take down a mob boss.
Did
And
did Foggy die?
no, Foggy is
Oh,
actually he's there. I haven't read like the last couple, I guess, before this run started, so I don't know what their beef is. But there's apparently a beef between them two. I think somehow Matt Murdock got he was able to erase his identity from everybody's minds except for Foggy. So
hmm.
now Foggy's the only one who knows he's Matt Murdock, I guess, and so he's pissed off about that for whatever reason. Matt has a sidekick named Blind Spot, who he's training to be like his Robin, I guess. It's just a really good forward movement. It's not just like riffs on Bendis or riffs on Miller. It's really cool. I like the artist. The color is really kind of washed out and bleak as opposed to the primary colors of Mark Waid's run. You know, the bright yellows and blues and stuff. It's feeling a lot more like the Daredevil that I love. So I'm happy about that. And the only other thing that I'm really reading on a regular basis, and it's only one issue out so far, is Batman meets the Ninja Turtles, which is really cool. It's an IDW DC crossover, obviously. It's only one issue in. It's really the setup. I think the ending of the issue is them meeting for the first time, so there hasn't been a lot of meat to it, but it's really fun. They were able to capture the coolest aspects of a Batman comic and the funnest aspects of the current IDW ongoing Ninja Turtle series. So it's something I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Cool. Haven't read too much over the last couple of weeks because they really haven't put too much on my pull list out. And don't laugh at the word pull list.
Yeah.
What it is. Shut up.
Your swipe list.
Yeah. I've been reading Extraordinary X-Men. They're on issue 5, I think. And that's been pretty decent. It's the lineup that it's got Storm, Colossus, Magic, Jean Grey, young Jean Grey, because I don't know how much you know about this, but one of the big events in Marvel is Beast came back and went back in time and swiped the original X-Men from the 60s and brought them forward. And so Jean Grey's back alive, but she's like, a teenager now. And Old Man Logan is rounding out.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's pretty badass, actually.
That's how they brought Wolverine back, is some other time travel kind of thing. Brought him back from a future where he killed all of the X-Men because Mysterio tricked him, and he murdered all the X-Men. So yeah, he's got all this weird grief and guilt and shit. And then there's some minor functionary X-Men because they're actually housed in an alternate dimension, but they've got the Xavier School. It's X-Haven, I think is what they're calling it now. And they've got some students. They've got a giant Sentinel that's somehow a mutant. I'm not quite sure how that happened or what it is. Cerebra, I think. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's the
thing
that Grant Morrison invented.
Yeah, so they've got an interesting little lineup there. I haven't read the other X-Men book that's new, the all-new X-Men. I'm kind of thinking about jumping in just to see what it's about, but I'm trying to keep my distance from Marvel as much as possible. I'm also reading the Star Wars Marvel, but that's kind of trailing down into, it's not as fun as exciting as it was before The Force Awakens. It's sort of, paced out, whittled down to, trickled down to kind of a more slow narrative. The Vader down whole thing where Darth Vader crashes on a planet and he knows Luke's there and him and Luke are going after it and Leia's coming to kill everybody and Han and Chewie. Everybody's going in all this wacky shit, but it's so slow that it's just like, who cares? So it's slowing down a little bit. What else have I read the last week or two? Oh, and Transformers. Really been getting into them for some weird reason. It's just been really fun.
Is that still
lately.
IDW?
Yeah. And there's two big titles that they're doing right now. One title is Robots in Disguise, and the other title is More Than Meets the Eye. It's sort of splitting the teams. More Than Meets the Eye is kind of Optimus and Prowl and RC, and they're kind of bouncing back and forth between Cybertron and Earth, and they're having wacky adventures. Galvatron is the Decepticon bad guy, and Prowl is kind of becoming a bad guy because he's like this espionage guy that's a real dick, and him and Optimus are really having they've literally had fights. So there's a lot of infighting in the Autobot ranks, and it's been pretty cool. The one I'm really getting into right now is More Than Meets the Eye. That one, did I say that More Than Meets the Eye was the title of the one I was? Sorry.
Yeah.
That one is Robots in Disguise. More Than Meets the Eye is the other one. And that one is sort of its own encapsulated story. It's featuring Rodimus. He's not Hot Rod, he's Rodimus.
Cool.
But he's not Rodimus Prime. It's sort of really weird. He does, him and Optimus broke the Matrix in half and each have half of the Matrix. And kind of weird, but he is leading a group of Autobots and a couple of Decepticons because the war is over. I forgot to mention that. The war between the Autobots and the Decepticons over. Everybody's kind of blended back together. For the most part, the Autobots still keep the Decepticons at arm's length, but they do interact a lot, not as enemies, as nemesis. Um, this story with Rodimus has a bunch of Autobots, and Cyclonus is one of the Decepticons on the ship, and they're on this galactic mission to find this utopia, cyber utopia, and this group of Autobots that was called the Knights of Cybertron, and they're supposed to lead them to cyber utopia, and blah blah. It's a pretty interesting story, but
Yeah,
kind of
it
the
sounds cool.
cool it is, and kind of the cool stuff that comes from that is it's all very encapsulated. They have their own adventures. Very seldomly do they cross over into the other title. They do here and there when it's appropriate. But the coolest and most interesting and kind of I haven't decided if it's cool or shitty or what, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Megatron is now an Autobot. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's kind of cool. I think that's
it's
kind of cool.
weird. He's still a good guy, but what happened was they brought him back to life because he was killed,
Uh-huh.
and they put him on trial, for being a mass murdering fuck, obviously, and they said, dude, Optimus like presided over it, and he's like, dude, a lot of people want your ass dead, and he was very remorseful about everything. He kind of had a clarity, a moment of clarity to where he knew that his evil was just beyond normal evil and just out there into cartoonish, supervillainy, obviously.
Yeah,
Um,
obviously.
so, they're all wanting his head, and it turns out that instead of killing him, they kind of do the humane thing, and they sentence him to go onto the ship with Rodimus, and they're co-captains of the ship, and he's got to repent by helping them find the Knights of Cybertron, and he's genuinely moving towards redemption. There was a
Interesting.
brief period like Ravage sneaks onto the ship, and he's asking Megatron, "Is this a ploy? Is this a trick? Are you gonna turn around and fucking shank Rodimus in the shower?" And he was like, "No, I'm really trying to do this. I'm really trying to turn my shit around." And
That's cool.
they've done a lot of
Is this like an actual continuation from like G1, or is this its own like?
close,
Yeah.
close. I think they took the original Marvel concepts and kind of ran with that.
Mm, okay.
Which is very close to G1, but a lot of things
Yeah.
like Transformers the movie didn't really happen because Rodimus didn't become Rodimus Prime. He became Rodimus when he was Hot
Gotcha.
Rod. It's a little convoluted. I'm not quite clear on that. And there's a lot of Autobots there that just kind of show up, and they've supposedly been there for millions and millions of years, and you're like, who the fuck are you? So, it takes a little getting used to, but it's really cool. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. And,
How many issues are each of them?
they're
Or so
up
far?
to 49, I believe,
Oh fuck!
issues
So
of
these
each.
are like a good 4 years on
Yeah,
already.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, okay. So it's
yeah.
probably in trade, right? Like I probably picked it up in
Yes,
trade. Okay,
yes. They've got
cool.
a lot of the volumes in trade, all the way up until the most recent one. I've also got them on PDF. So yeah.
Man, yeah.
um,
Your fake comics,
my fake comics.
your collection.
They read just the same, damn you. I get the same
Yeah,
knowledge, the same art. And you know what? They're better looking, believe it or not. If you're
yeah, I
looking at
know.
it high
Yeah,
resolution, man, I went to Hastings the other day and I'm sitting there looking at the comics, and on paper, even the nice glossy ass paper, they're very washed out, very, you know, it's not the same as high res, man. It's really not.
part of
Looking
the
at,
charm. It's part of the charm.
hey, man, get with the times, man.
I'm gonna bust your balls about it regardless. I don't care either way. I mean, I'm surrounded by books. I like to the point where it's almost oppressive. Shit's gonna fall on top of me right now. So I should probably move to digital, but yeah, it's just my thing. I'm stubborn that way.
I've got thousands of books, but they're all on my tablet.
Thousands of books. But cool. No, that's pretty badass actually. I think I might want to pick those up because IDW does great shit in general.
They do.
I think I mentioned before the Ghostbusters are really good. The Ninja Turtles are obviously really good, like legit good. The best they've been since like the first volume of the Mirage comics back in the '80s. And so I would see why I don't see why the Transformers would be any less either.
Well,
So
pretty compelling.
cool,
Uh-oh.
cool. Did we just die?
Nope.
Nope, we're good.
Yep, but we gotta go.
Okay, cool. All right. Cool then. Awesome. We'll check out those comics. If there's nothing else, I guess that's it for this episode, right?
I think that's it. I think we've
All
covered
right.
quite a bit for 2 weeks of absentia, man. We really made up
Yeah.
for it and did well. Had a good show.
Cool. And we're back. So, all right. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, we'll do this again next week. And so,
If we
um,
don't get listless.
if we don't get listless and sad and want to listen to sad David Bowie music or watch Alan Rickman movies,
Oh,
rest in peace
like
to the
grab
both of
Thor's
them.
hammer.
Yeah. But all right, man. In that case, thanks for joining me, I guess. I've never thanked you for joining me before on the show.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you for joining
watchers.
me.
No problem. Thank you all for watching, I guess, if
Yes,
you're
thank
watching.
you. We
Either
love
way,
you. All
once
20
again,
of you.
all 20 of you, 23. Let's
Oh,
give
okay,
ourselves
23.
some, yeah. But yeah, again, I'm Abe Vigoda, because I have no other name for Abe, and you're Dwayne
The Rock,
The Rock
Johnson.
Johnson again, because I can't think of another Dwayne. So thanks a lot this week. This has been Nerd Lives Matter, the podcast for Outcasts, where every life matters unless you are Hot Rod, because you're going to become Rodimus whether you want this prime or not.
Yeah,
Or
so it
whether
really
or not
doesn't matter.
Optimus dies. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Good night.